And when Stanley gets to the top, he's caused that much trouble for Ollie at this point. He punches him in the face. And this is The Chimp from 1932, Laurel and Hardy classic. This is one I can't recall seeing before. That's what I've enjoyed about this box set, is, you know, you're coming across some really good stuff on this. And yes, there's parts of this film that are, and I've just been looking it up on Wikipedia just to see if I'm not going crazy, but there is a few parts of this film where it says here the second half of the film is a reworking of their last silent film, Angora Love from 1929, itself reworked into a short film the previous year, Laughing Gravy. So, you know, there is a few parts of this film I was watching, I was like, you know, this is familiar here. But that is a big thing in Laurel and Hardy movies. You know, a lot of their feature-length movies and some of their sound movies were actually like remakes of older silent films. So there's a good part of that in this film as well. This one is basically about Stan and Ollie. They're working in a circus as performers, and they drive the circus to shut them down, basically. You know, the first quarter of this film is, you know, the performers trying to get things done. There's a strong man doing like a, you know, a routine with like a cannon and cannonball, and Stan and Ollie actually destroy that. They literally bring the house down with the cannon. You know, that leads to the circus being closed down. But there is a funny sequence just before that where the same strong man is about to do another routine which involves 3 tables stacked on top of each other, and like a plank of wood across the top of like a box, and you know they're going to try and like use it like a seesaw kind of like sling shot to knock the butt. Like, this is what I'm taking from the setup to this here. You don't actually get to find out what the strongman was going to do, because Stan and Ollie actually, and probably the best slapstick moment of this film, managed to destroy this routine. Oliver is on top of these 3 tables that are stacked up on top of each other, and Stanley is climbing up to the top along with him, and at the bottom there's the seesaw set up, and there's the cannonball that's sitting on one side of this plank. And when Stanley gets to the top, he's caused that much trouble for Ollie at this point. He punches him in the face, he falls off the top of the tables, lands in the seesaw, shoots the cannonball up in the air, and it comes down, hits the table that Oliver's on at the top, and he falls right through all 3 of them. It is a beautifully done little stunt in the film, and absolutely hilarious the way it played out in there. In the circus there is a chimp, obviously. The name of the film is called The Chimp, and it is Ethel the gorilla. And when the circus is closed down, the owner decides that he's going to split up, you know, to give everybody a cut from the circus. He doesn't have money to pay people, so he's going to take everything he owns and separate it out among the people that work for him. So it's like a, you know, people drawing straws essentially to get what they're going to get. Stanley ends up getting a flea circus, which plays big time at the end of the film as well, and Oliver ends up getting Ethel the gorilla. And yes, they head off to try and rebuild their life with this gorilla. There's a lot of slapstick moments in this film where they're trying to build a little cage for Ethel the gorilla, and this is one of these films that needs to be seen to be believed. The gorilla is obviously a person in a gorilla suit. But it works very well within this film, within the context of the film. It does not look out of place whatsoever. This is an old movie from 1931, and you, there's no CGI. You don't build like realistic looking computer generated gorillas back in those days. So it was a guy in a suit. It was brilliantly done. There's a good running joke within this film where the lion escapes in the circus. Obviously after it's closed down. Oliver's now owner of Ethel the gorilla. He's trying to build this little cage for her, and the lion escapes at one point. They need to get a rope to tie up this cage. Stanley goes to get a rope. On the end of the rope, there's the lion, and they eventually get away from that. They're going to a hotel to stay for the night. The only problem is they've got this gorilla with them. How they're going to get the gorilla in is going to be the problem. We're going to put her, she can't stay outside all night, sort of a thing. So Oliver goes in to see the landlord of the hotel, and they tell Stanley to stay outside with Ethel. But in the middle of Oliver trying to get a room sorted for themselves, before they actually have to try and figure out how they're going to get Ethel into the hotel, Stanley and Ethel bust through the door, and the landlord discovers there's a gorilla here. Get this out of my hotel. Kicks all three of them out. And the reason Stanley busted in is because what he refers to is, I seen MGM, and Oliver's like, what? MGM? Stanley is calling the lion. The lion turns up again. Stanley refers to it as MGM. Obviously the beginning of the old MGM movies, where the gorilla, the lion appears at the start and roars. Yes, there's a lot of little things like that in this film. Eventually, they get into the hotel. They decide to try and pass Ethel off as a human, dressing her up in Oliver's clothes to get her into the hotel. The plan is Stanley and Ethel get to the room, then they throw Oliver's clothes out to him on the street. He gets dressed and he sneaks in later on. Obviously trying to, I went out for something, you didn't see me leaving, sort of a deal. But during this, when Stanley is trying to throw Oliver's clothes down to him, they get caught halfway between the upper floor of the hotel and the bottom. Oliver can't reach up for his clothes. Stanley can't reach down for the clothes, but Ethel has got longer arms, so they get her to try and reach out for the clothes to throw down to Oliver, and Stanley's holding Ethel in the window, and the two of them manage to fall out, land on Oliver. Typical Laurel and Hardy slapstick moments in this here. The big ending to this movie is Billy Gilbert plays the landlord of the hotel, and he believes that his wife is having an affair behind his back, and her name happens to be Ethel as well. So coming up towards the end of the film, Stan and Ollie and Ethel the gorilla are in the hotel room, and Ethel won't settle down. There's a whole thing with the flea circus that Stanley got actually escapes in the hotel room. They're all itching, trying to get to sleep in the bed, and it's full of fleas, and Oliver and Stanley, they're scratching, they can't get to sleep. Again, typical Laurel and Hardy, absolutely brilliant. So coming up towards the end of the movie, Billy Gilbert is out in the hallway and he hears Oliver and Stanley. There's two beds in this one room they're all in, and one bed's infested with fleas. Ethel has taken the other bed, and Oliver and Stanley like, Ethel, get out of the bed, sort of thing. And Billy Gilbert, of course, is outside the door, hearing all this, and he thinks, Ethel, my wife's in this bedroom with these two guys, and he busts in with a gun, and At this point, Ethel's hiding. Ethel the gorilla, that is hiding below the bed covers, pulled up over their head, and Billy Gilbert is, declaring his true love to this mountain of sheets within the bed, believing that it's his wife. Then she comes in to the bedroom after she's been out somewhere, and maybe she has been having an affair behind his back. No one knows, but she eventually turns up while he's declaring his true love to whoever's in this bed, and then of course that's going to start trouble between them. And that's pretty much comes up to the end of the movie. Ethel jumps out of the bed, grabs hold of his gun, and she starts blasting it off in the hotel room. It is actually a flippin' brilliant little short film. I didn't think it was going to be up to much at the very start, in all fairness. I try to get into these reviews as open-minded as I can. I'm a huge Laurel and Hardy fan, but there's a lot of stuff in this box set that I haven't seen before, and some of the stuff in it, if I have seen it, I was quite young at the time, and I'm not going to go on and review these here and say they're all brilliant and whatnot. If some of the films aren't good, I'm going to let you know about that, but this one here is genuinely turns out a heck of a lot better than I was going to give it credit for at the beginning of it. The opening sequence of this film within the circus, it's good, it's funny, but it's not to the standard that I would have expected from a Laurel and Hardy movie. And once we get up to that first stunt with the free tables and Oliver falls through them, it kicks off from there. And when the circus closes down, they have to move on with their lives with this gorilla with them. Trouble just goes from bad to worse for them. And typical Laurel and Hardy style. Absolutely brilliant. If you haven't seen this one, you need to check it out as soon as possible. And this entire box set, I think at this point, I'm not even sure how many reviews I've got of this box set, but it's a heck of a lot. At this point, we're not that far off from the end of this. But, there's only been a small handful of films that haven't been that great. And, the good really, really does outweigh the bad when it comes to Laurel and Hardy movies. I would highly recommend buying this box set just to have it there. It's quite easy to watch these for free online. Like, I'm pretty sure YouTube has got just about all of these films. If it doesn't, some other site will have them. But having a genuine physical copy of this box set is not going to be a waste of money or time.